Welcome to part B of episode 4 of Slept On by Spotify. In the companion video, part A, I interviewed Slow Shudder, and now we're about to watch her start a brand new track from scratch. In previous episodes, I gave the guest a few hours to work and finesse a track. In this one, I actually only gave Slow Shudder 1 hour to see how far she could get, but she ended up spending a couple hours after the fact. So in this video, you can see the song start from a very raw embryonic state and get to something that's a little more mature. Thank you again to Slow Shudder for coming on the show. If you aren't following her already, please do that. In the description, you'll find all of her socials, and if you like the show, want to come on it, you want to see more of this, please subscribe, comment. There's a form in the description where you can submit your own music for me to check out, and you can come on the show, make $100, make some music. But let's get right into it.
The first thing I do is usually like mess around with like some chords and melodies. Okay, Pokey, here. Come up. So yeah, that's what I'll probably do first.
Sounds good.
Yeah, the Minneapolis. That one. A lot of times, like early stages, I don't really like play anything out that's too intricate drum wise, because it'll like throw off like writing stuff. Like it'll like, or not even throw it off, it'll like kind of box me into certain rhythms. So I like to keep it like a bit more open. But what I'll do is I'll like do a 4 on the floor so that like I don't have to like rely solely on the metronome. I like having like that like kind of lower feeling, and like maybe I'll keep this kick, maybe I won't. Like most of the times I change out the kick, but I always like something that's like nice enough that I'm not like focused on, oh, this kick sounds like shit.
Yeah.
but like present enough where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like stay in time. I was gonna say, so a lot of times like I like to do stuff where like I'll choose a preset that I like and then like put a bunch of effects on it and change it. When I'm writing, that like saves me tons of time. And then there's other days where like I'll really go into sound design. But for writing stuff, I feel like it's just so much easier when I'm not like chasing a particular sound. I'm like, I'll get to it later. Like,
Yeah.
cool.
It seems like you're pretty good at organizing or compartmentalizing kind of like your process.
Yeah, I feel like for me, like a lot of it's like I am right now brainstorming what I want to write about from like a songwriting perspective while I like set a vibe. So
Yeah.
like for a long time I would get like really hung up on like, oh, does everything sound perfect like right now? And like it's too it like throws off my flow too much to do that, you know? Like I used to be like really hypercritical, like, oh, this sounds like not cool enough yet. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it doesn't have to be, like, it's not the finished version, you know? So any producers who are watching this who may fall into that trap, just like, don't judge your sounds too early.
I'm raising my hand.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're minimized now, so I can't see you.
I know.
Like, yeah. Yeah.
Definitely don't feel pressure to come up with your most brilliant shit of all time.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not. This is just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
I get the sense that your process, well, at least in this moment, is like so much about broad strokes, very broad strokes.
Yes.
Just let's see what we can come up with, and then
Yeah.
and then you pull threads where the inspiration is hitting.
Yeah, I feel like it's like one of my friends in London that I worked with a lot when I was there, who I like have learned so much from, like describes it as like throwing spaghetti on the wall is like this part of the process, is like
Yeah.
what's cool, like what's coming out from that. Do you ever sometimes like be like, I actually want to make a totally different song now, and then just like switch midway? That's like what I'm doing, but I'm like, would I then make a whole track in 30 minutes? Like, I should probably just stick with this.
No,
I
know what you mean.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to change the tempo. Actually, that's what I might do. I might just like change the tempo. Let's see. I'm gonna actually like make a few more instruments and build out the arrangement because I was like, the melody that I had towards the beginning left me, which just happens sometimes, and then I was like, not loving this melody, so no words are coming. So that's like definitely a part of my process. Is like a lot of back and forth. Like I'll be like, oh, now I'm gonna do this, and now I'm gonna do that, and just kind of like let myself be led by that feeling rather than like get stuck in. I feel like the worst session for me is if I'm like stuck in on something and I'm like, it's not working and I can't make it work and I'm just gonna keep trying. It's like, just gotta do something else or else, you'll lose all the ideas. At least for me, yeah. That's enough for now, idea-wise. I'm vibing with this more right now. It's too sunny outside. My moody like London song I was like, there's nothing that is coming to me right now. But
yeah. It's all about that headspace.
Yeah. I know. I like love an amp. I like start with crazy. Like this is like I would say like my number one thing is like it's like, oh, that's a pretty sound you got there. Like, would be such a shame if I stuck an amp on it. Like. And like fucking Redux. Oh my god, my latency is like really crazy right now. So I don't know if that's coming through on your end, but it's like my CPU. It's like
yeah, it's having a heart attack. It looks like it's like been cracked. It's been a little crackly.
It's been a little crackly. Apologies for that. Let's see. I'll show you how I make like a vocal instrument because I feel like that's always fun.
"14 minutes.
Cool.
Brutal.
It's fine.
I tried to do an episode just as like an experiment. I spent like 6 hours on it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like sometimes it's fast and a lot of it depends on like where you're at. And like I do feel like when I'm like being perceived, I definitely like I'm overthinking maybe slightly more than I would if I wasn't. But it's been fun to do this. I'm like enjoying it as a challenge.
Yeah.
Song's fucking weird, but I'm just gonna roll with it.
How we do it?
Yeah. Sometimes when you've got 2 minutes left.
40 seconds.
Yeah. I'm like, do I even add anything at this point?
We are back. I took this song in a different direction after the first hour or so that I recorded with Nick on the interview. I was liking what I had in some ways, but it wasn't really doing it for me in others. So at the time it was 150. Whoa, not 250. And sounded a little like this. My fun gibberish down there. What I really liked the most out of this whole session was this part. I was really digging that like plucky, amped out thing that I'd done using one of my vocal recordings with the gibberish. And I ended up messing around with that, and actually you can hear it here to make this plucky thing. So this is a different vocal recording now, but at the time when I was first playing around, I started with that channel and ended up replacing it with vocals I recorded later once I got to this point in the song. But I bumped it up 10 BPM, so this whole section, the new kind of like place that I'd taken it in the next 2 hours is 160, not 150. And I was listening to that while I was thinking about the writing and was coming up with like some melodies around that, which I felt like could be a bit more conversational, a bit like quicker in terms of the pacing. So I was kind of doing some gibberish over that and thinking about one of the first things I'd written down, which was questions that can't be answered. So the thought process I had was when you're like saying something either in your own head or to someone else that you feel kind of like exists beyond your control, like what does that feel like? And I contextualized it in a way of like sending a text to someone, like sending a text to your crush and like waiting for them to respond, and like you get like phantom buzzes from your phone and you're like, oh my god, did they get back to me? And you're like, oh no, that was just my imagination. So I started writing from there, playing around with that. I also wrote the first verse just from like the perspective of being nervous about doing this interview and this video. So like the whole part where it's like, can't speak, all the words get stuck in my mouth. That part's just like me being like, I feel like I'm really awkward. So that's reality. But yeah, so I'll show you a little bit.
Can't speak.
I did a lot of like processing, obviously, because I'm not a chipmunk. So I stuck it through Autotune Pro. It's in B major, no flexible tuning at all. Like I wanted the quality to be super auto-tuned. Retune speed is 10, which is, like a quick retune speed compared to where I usually am, which is like more around like 20, 30. So, bump that up from where it's kind of default is. Formant shifted down a lot. So here's the original.
Can't speak, although it gets stuck.
Still auto-tuned, obviously. But
Can't
with the
speak,
formant,
although it gets stuck in my mouth.
it's like more metallic and like just like overly auto-tuned to match the style of where I took the song. So after that, de-esser, Waves de-esser is my kind of go-to. This Waves compressor, which this rock vocal preset is like pretty much where I always start from if I use VComp. Just feel like it's like quick and easy and, does the job. Routed that to Valhalla Room, but just the highs, mids to mid highs, into the highs. And the preset here, I went with like a big chamber and then just messed around a bit with like the mix and the depth, if I remember correctly. And yeah, like without it, it's way too dry.
Can't speak, although it gets stuck in my mouth, sticky.
So this isn't like super reverby, but at least like has some space so it doesn't feel like, dry as a bone. So, at this point I've got these two things going.
2 weeks. What the fuck do I even know you love?
And at this point I was like, oh, I want to make like a kick and bass that are different from like what I had been doing up here. So here I started with like this like Minneapolis Kick, which I like, and the bass pad I believe was like a Reese. I think it was like a warm Reese. And I was like, I want something like punchier, and I just recently got Isotope Trash too, and I was like, I'm just gonna like mess around with that. So I processed my kick with Trash, and I did this kind of like boxed in aggressive preset, but only a little bit. So here it is, dry. Oop, here it is, dry. Kind of straightforward, but then adds a nice little bit of interest there. And then did the same thing with the bass, and the bass is like matching the kick, so it's like part of the kick. So this one, CPU is like, hello. This one I put through this Tearing Down Pulses preset, and again, just like a little bit wet, like nothing too crazy, but it actually makes a huge difference. So if you listen to it without the effects chain, it's a different sound, like it's nice and it's like a plucky bass on top of the kick. a kick and a bass combined. Trademark me. Just kidding. But after the EQ and Trash and some compression, sidechain, obviously compression with the kick. Hey. So that's where we are at this point. And I'll add back in. So this is like when I was like, okay, I need some more elements. Added in the snare, which I also processed. So this one I like clipped this sample like in half almost, stuck it through Redux, did some bit reduction and downsampling, EQ'd it, rolled off the lows, kind of boosted the area that I wanted it to be extra crunchy. Also played with Trash here. Can you guys tell I love Trash? I just got it recently, and whenever I get a new plugin, I'm like, I'm gonna use it on everything, because you have that honeymoon stage with your plugins where you're like, never gotten out of that stage with Serum. Serum is still amazing me, day after day. But I digress. I put this moderate edge preset on the sound, on the snare, and just totally wet there because I wanted the effect to be really strong. So here it is with it. And then without all of this stuff, it sounds like this. Totally different, like I feel like a lot of my sound design, type stuff like is like either Ableton effects or like one or two plugins, but like I like making sure that it sounds like very different from the original, like no matter how I have to get there, if it's just a tiny bit of processing in terms of the number of tools I'm using, or like 6 or 7 in an effects chain, like I do like to make sure that there's like a pretty solid difference from where I end up and where I started. Cool. And then I got into this clap business, which also put through Trash. Intimate Industrial. A lot of these I was just like, I like this preset name. Let's see what it sounds like. And again, kind of played around, I think, in a few of the different areas. I'm still learning how to use Trash, so I was just kind of like messing around a lot and being like, what does this do? And yeah, for a lot of them, like I didn't do anything too crazy. It was more just like having a play around, which is, I would say, a big part of my process in the first 3 hours of producing anything is like just me playing around. I knew I wanted to get into some like more intricate, like kind of like texture type patterns. So like this break, it was originally 108. I brought it up to 160, transposed it 11 semitones, and then distorted it after rolling up the lows. So it sounds like this. And you can't hear it like really loudly in the track, but it does make a difference. Like, I miss it when it's not there. Yeah. Hats, similar thing. I think, yeah, these hats were like originally 105. I wanted to make sure they were still kind of a slower pacing. So like instead of bringing 105 up to 160, which would have been really fast and like drum and bass almost, I warped it at 210 and then brought 210 down to 160. And then put it through trash. Yeah, this one I did jazz turned IDM again because I thought it was a funny name and then I liked how it sounds. So that's without it. Very simple, basic hi-hat. And then this is with it. And this is something where like later on I would probably play out hi-hats as well as like incorporate more like textures on different pitches. Like I feel like I wouldn't want it to be like like that's pretty boring to me. So I'd probably like either transpose around, like I'd like go into the envelope and like just like boop transposition and like kind of like do something like this. And like sometimes, there we go. You know, just like sometimes I'll, obviously not that extreme, but like a lot of times I'll go in and just mess around with like transposing things in the envelopes for percussive elements that are like hats and perks and things because I want to make them interesting and I don't want them to sound like super quantized. So yeah, that's something I didn't do, but probably would in hour like 10. This pluck, I don't think I've talked about yet. Super simple. Yeah. So this I actually started with this one, this pluck here, which is totally different, obviously. But I had done like chorus, boost and crunch, some redux, like bit reduction. And I was like, oh, I want it to be like super duper intense. My mic like fell a bunch. We're back. And I actually started with a different kind of starting point. Like I had like a kind of lo-fi piano music box type starting point there. And then for this one, I have like a more EDM-y type pluck. But then I rolled off all of those and then put it to trash. Savage Bands is the name of that preset. Totally wet there. Again, I think I like changed maybe the distortion. I actually can't remember. I was just really having like a good time figuring out how to use trash because it's like I've only had it for a week. So I was like, this is really fun. And then, oh yeah, here I'll play the before and after. So this is before. And then after. Hell yeah. And that's again kind of like low in the mix in the grand scheme of things. I don't want it overpowering. But it is really present still because of like what's happening in trash, like the distortions. Overdrive's crazy. So. And then this little pluck, is also similar to kind of what I was doing up here too. With this pluck and this pluck, like this pattern, but this kind of sound starting point. For a lot of this track, like I was kind of going back and forth, like messing around, like, and then I had this whole other song that I'd started at the very beginning, with like different chords and stuff. And I would like, you know, obviously I'm changing keys, changing tempos, but the patterns that were my initial instincts, kind of kept like guiding where I was going with things. And that's how I would say a lot of my production is like I try and create a bunch of things without judging it too hard and not getting stuck on one thing. Like I'll get bored of a sound pretty easily and then move on and move on and move on. And what guides me is like what's not boring to me. So by this point, you know, it sounds totally different, but it's from that kind of initial inspiration point. So this is like, you know, again, put through overdrive, then through trash, pretty low again in the mix, also being sent to the same reverb as, the vocal, cause I wanted that to be in the same space. This chop is as well, which I made from the new vocal. And that sounds like this. So you can hear it without without trash. It's like beep beep. I don't even know what I'm singing in that moment, but it's something I'm singing. And rolled off the lows and then stuck it through. Bad reception in the middle. A nasty boy on the heavy preset thing about halfway through, between dry and wet. And I can't remember again if I like did too much in here. I was kind of like jumping around, going back and forth. But yeah, I like how this came out. And then I stuck it through another amp and, you know, auto pan, just like subtle stereo, but like the amp isn't all the way right. It's like only 38.9%. Came out cool. And then did I go through everything? Oh, this last chop. I'm a big chop person. As you can see, I have like 4 chops happening at the same time. No, not 4. I have 1, 2, 3. Wait, 1. Is this one? No, that one is serum. 1, 2. Yeah, 1, 2, 3 different instruments in this like 10 channel demo are my vocals processed through various things, which is kind of the normal for me. Like I feel like my voice is my favorite preset. And yeah, for this one I just did on its own. It sounds like it's just the audio that I messed with a tiny bit so that it was more in time. And then I rolled off the lows, stuck it through autotune. Oh, this is all the same chain as the lead vocal. And then I just stuck this brighter shade Ableton amp on it. And it's got a few different things going on. What? You can see a pedal echo, brighter shade, and then the cabinet. But yeah, I just messed around a little bit with the macros here. Without this, it just sounds like the lead vocal. But with it, it gets cool. I think that's it. Cool. Is this more than 10 minutes? Probably. I definitely like have so many things I want to change about this production, or not even change, just like kind of like develop from here. I might like unhyper pop it. I was having a bad voice night and I wasn't like singing on pitch as much as I wanted to. So as you can see by all the comping, I was like, but I would re-sing it maybe at some point. I do think that it could be a track that I make slightly more, I would say like still like left field pop, but not so far in the direction of hyper pop. But who knows? Maybe I would keep it this way. I do like it this way. So yeah, I guess that's like a good stopping point. Hopefully this has been fun and interesting. Thank you so much again to Nick for inviting me on the show. And Nick, you're watching this. Thank you for all the editing you're probably doing. Okay, bye.
Can't speak, all the words get stuck in my mouth, sticky. Don't know what I'm talking about, reading into everything that you do. Guess I've bitten off more than I can chew. 2 weeks, what the fuck do I even know? You love, and I'm melting into the floor. Fell deep the moment that you walk through the door. Sometimes I wish that I could teleport backwards, back to when I never knew your name. How quickly I'd be wrapped around your finger. I had to stay home, I had to stay home, I had to stay home. I'd restart, scroll back to that night until I restore. Instead I'm counting minutes till you respond. Glue it to my phone, glue it to my phone, glue it to my phone.